By the end of this video, I'm going to have taken you from a complete beginner to a competent boxer. What I suggest you do is stand up and mirror exactly as I do for the entire duration of the video for the best results. I'm going to build right from the fundamentals in chronological order so you learn everything properly. So stay for the entire duration. Wait, hang on for a sec. I've got a free opportunity that's better than this free video you're currently watching. So you might know that I've got a boxing roadmap in my online boxing program. Now this roadmap is basically a series of videos. By the way, this is free, so I'm not wasting your time here. And it's basically just all of the basics from phase 1 to phase 5. But I'm giving the first 2 weeks of it away. And what's inside is just a bunch of videos of me explaining exactly what you need to do, a bunch of lessons and drills, and then you get a training plan every week, which contains 5 workouts. And it looks like this, where all of the lessons and videos are linked in the side. You basically just do a bunch of reps for several rounds, and this is how you learn and ingrain the skill into your body. So if you're interested, it's free. I'm giving the first 2 weeks away. Click the link in the description and yeah, go get it. First things first, we need to know whether we're southpaw or orthodox. If you're right-handed, that means you're orthodox. So you put your right foot back and your left foot forward. If you're left-handed, that means you're southpaw, which means you put your right foot forward and your left foot back. Okay, so this is orthodox and this is southpaw. From here, we need to get our stance right. So that starts with figuring out how far we want our feet apart. To figure this out, come down into a lunge where I line up my back knee with my lead heel. And then I just stand up, keeping my feet where they are. This is the distance we want our left foot from our right foot. Then we want to figure out how wide we want our stance. And we do that by lining up the edge of the toe with the back heel. Okay, so if you've got a line, stand on a line, but you should be able to line up that front toe with the back heel. That's how wide we want our stance. From there, it's rigid ankles, our back heel just off the ground, our front heel down. We want our knees pointing out at the same angle as our feet. Our front foot wants to be pointing out about 30 degrees from front on, and our back foot wants to be pointing out about 60 to 90 degrees. Okay. So as I said, knees the same angle as our feet. We don't want our knees at different angles from our feet, because that means that I'll roll onto the sides of my feet and I'll lose stability and balance. So knees, same angles as our feet. A little bit of bend in the knees and a little bit of bend in the hips. We want our weight distributed, so 60% of it is on the back foot and only 40% of it is on the front foot. A good way to work out whether your weight is distributed properly is picturing a scale. So at 0 on the scale is our front foot, and at 10 on the scale is our back foot. And the center line of our torso should be at 6 on the scale. You see here, mine's at about 6, but if it's too far forward, it's at about a 2 or a 3 here. That means my weight is too far forward. If it's too far back, like a 9 or a 10, and that means that my weight is obviously too far back. So bring it to that center point is at about a 6. Okay, that's how you know your weight is distributed properly. From here, we want a slight bend in our hips like this, and then we want to round our back. When we round our back, you'll see that if I stand up straight, my chest and my torso is all open. I'm a much more vulnerable target here. But if I round my back, naturally my elbows sit in a lot more and I'm a much smaller target. That's the aim. We want to be as small target as possible, which means we also want to be more side on. So we push this rear shoulder backwards, nice and side on, elbows tucked in, back rounded. From here, you want to tuck your chin down. Just so you do this by just relaxing the muscles in your neck. You don't need to look at the ground. You still want to be looking through your eyebrows at the target, but nice relaxed in the neck, and have your head pointing at the target. Don't have your head the same angle as your torso is. That's what a lot of people get wrong. They're trying to look out the side of their eyes like this. You just need to turn your head and look directly forwards. Your torso pointing to the side, and then your shoulders should be almost covering that chin. So when your chin's tucked like this, you can block shots to the chin with this shoulder. You see a lot of people doing the Philly shell. Your right hand wants to be at the height of your cheekbone, and your lead hand wants to be about the height of your mouth so that you can see over it. Okay, we don't want it too high up here. This also brings a lot of tension. However, it's close enough so that we can block shots to the head if need be. So right hand up, lead hand here, elbows in, hips, slight bend in the hips, slight bend in the knees, back heel up off the ground, or rear shoulder push back so we're nice and side on, and then that front foot completely on the ground, gripping the ground with your feet. Knees, same angle as your feet so that you're not rolling off onto the sides of your feet, losing balance. If you're struggling with the stance and weight distribution, here's something you can do to help that. Get your feet the right distance apart, as we already talked about. Make sure your legs are locked out, and then I just want you to slouch. Like you got really bad posture. Just let your arms dangle forward like this. From here, keep the top half of your arms where they are. Just bend your arms like this, and then we just want to bend our knees till we are vertically up. Torso's vertically up. Remember, back rounded, chin down, etc., etc. Next thing is your footwork. Now, this is the most important part of boxing, so listen up carefully. General rule of thumb for footwork is that we open up our stance before we close it, going in all directions. So if I'm going to step forward, then I'm going to take my front foot, then my back foot will follow. Opening up my stance before I close it. Same going backwards, take my back foot first, then my front foot. Same going to my right side, right foot first. Open, close, going left as well. But there is nuances to this rule of thumb. We can also bring our feet slightly together. Call this the Nick skip, but it's basically like a little side step. Now, it looks like this. And the way you do that is first by doing a normal side step. So I'm going to bring my back foot all the way into my lead foot. I'm just going to replace where it was. And then same going backwards. Just a normal side step. And now to get this Nick skip down, we just want to decrease the distance that our feet move. So first of all, it's going to there. And we're going to decrease that distance. And I'm just going to keep decreasing the distance of where our feet go. Like this. So now you can see that I can really quickly move in and out of range, meaning that I can make them miss and then I can get into range, get my shots off. The good thing about this is when you bring your back foot in to close the range, it means it's planted, ready to throw punches. Whereas if you take your front foot, it's still not planted as I'm trying to already throw my shots. So using this Nick skip, it's going to get that back foot in so I can let my punches go. Same as if I'm going backwards, you can really push off with this front foot straight away and get out of range a lot quicker. So that's super effective way to move around the ring, just those little side steps. You can also take angles. The most basic way of taking an angle is using what we call a pivot. And that's where I use the ball of my front foot to pivot myself 90 to 180 degrees, or you could probably go further, but that's just stupid. So we'll start with 90-degree pivots. Use the ball of your front foot, so you shift your weight slightly forward, and then you push off the ball of your back foot. So I can pivot to my left side, and I can pivot to my right side. Like this, okay, so I can do further. But the aim here is to keep my head back and not go all the way forward like this. I don't want to pivot like this because that's putting my head in range and I'm also very off balance here. So a little point of reference you can use for pivots is by sliding your back foot around on the ground like this. So you're keeping your head back as you do it and you're not coming off the ground so far and coming too far forward, putting yourself at danger. Okay, so keep the head back, slide that foot around, and then when you do get to the final position, your back heel should still be off the ground, so you're pivoting onto the ball of your back foot. This means you're going to be nice and on balance, ready to throw punches or defend. A common problem is when people pivot, they come back onto their heels like this. Obviously from there, you're very off balance. Same going this way, you can come too far over and lose your footing. So try and stay on the ball of your back foot when you get to this position. Make sure when you're moving around the ring that you maintain all the things we said about shape. So we talked about elbows in, hands high, back rounded, slight bend in the hips, bend in the knees. Also moving around, we need to make sure we're maintaining this shape wherever we go, okay? It's actually a lot harder than it looks, and doing it in sparring in a fight is even harder than that. So you got to practice it in shadow first, get it right, so then hopefully you can do it in fights or sparring. We talked about the most important thing in boxing, which is footwork. Now we got something that's basically just as important, and that is this. The rotation of your body. It all starts at your back foot. Your front foot's nice and planted in the ground, but your back foot, you can pivot on it like this. So you don't want to pivot any more than the direction that your punch will travel, which is forward. Okay, so if I don't want to go any further than where it is now, if I go any further, I'm losing balance and I'm coming off the ball of my foot, going onto the side of my foot. We don't want to do that. Stay on the ball of your foot. And you don't have to pivot all the way to here. For most of my punches, I just go like that. But it's enough to bring the next part of my body round, which is my back knee. My back knee needs to come to this point where it's sort of pointing forward. And from there, a hip follows. Hips are now from side on. They're going to face forward like this. And then my torso can also rotate a little bit further. So I brought my chest from this position here, using that movement from my back foot, my back heel, my hip, all the way to my torso, where my chest is now pointing the other way. So this is sort of the limits. This is where you can go. You can rotate from here all the way to here, right? This is super important. Left to right to left again. Everything can flow off this movement, whether it's a punch, a defense, or whatever it is. We'll get into that later, but practice your hip rotation first. The rotation of your entire body, including your torso. So you can get to here, but you can go further where you're pushing your lead shoulder back, right? Changing that position of the chest. Okay, so practice this motion first. So we've learned the stance, we've learned hip rotation. Now we're going to put that into practice and learn all the punches from 1 to 10. So listen carefully. This is the fun bit. Starting with the jab. Now, the jab is not so much of a body rotating punch. It's a little bit more of an arm punch. So get into your stance, back heel up off the ground, weight back, and we're going to maintain that weight distribution throughout the whole duration of the jab. A common mistake is that people reach for it. So we're going to keep our weight back and not alter that position of our hips at all. So we're staying here. And all I want you to do is take your hand from the guard position and just extend your arm. Fastest point from point A to point B, just extend your arm out, okay? As you do this, keep your elbow underneath, like you're tracing where your arm goes with your elbow, okay? Don't bring your elbow out to the side like this. Keep your elbow in line, and then right at the last second here, we're just turning over the knuckles like this. Okay, so we keep our straight, like we're throwing punches down an alleyway. Keep your elbows in, keep your weight back, and just turn your hand over like this. Keeping that elbow nice and tucked in. And now the jab gets its power and whip from that turning of your hand. So your palm should be facing out that way at first. And by the time it gets to the target, it's turned over. So my palm's pointing down like this. And that little turn over there, that whip, is what gives it the snap, okay? So we turn over the knuckles, extend the elbow, and bring our shoulder all the way to the chin like this. When we bring the shoulder all the way to the chin, there's going to be a slight bit of rotation in our torso where I'm bringing my rear shoulder back. All right. And when I do this, I'm stacking all the joints extended behind my knuckles. And what that does is it means that it takes the pressure off my shoulder here. Now, if you're throwing loads of jabs, you probably had that real fatiguing feeling in your anterior delt here, this muscle in our shoulder. And that's because you haven't stacked all the joints behind your knuckles. When I do this, I've got all my body behind my knuckles. It's offering resistance behind it. When I don't bring my shoulder all the way up to here and I just come to here, then all of that tension, all of that stress is put on this muscle. Right? So make sure you bring your shoulder all the way up to your chin and you look down your arm, and right at the end, you see that my wrist is slightly kinked like this. It's kinked, so I turn it over and land on the knuckles. Now the main thing with the jab is you want your arm to be super relaxed, so it sort of whips out nice and fast, and you don't bring it back before you throw it. So to do that, it starts at the shoulder. The shoulder is like a piston. The shoulder goes first, and then the arm comes straight forward. My hand doesn't come back to like coil it up and throw it. Right? We're not trying to coil it and then throw it. That's a super common mistake, even against people who are quite advanced boxers, is that they bring the hand back. So no bringing of the hand back. We're just going from the shoulder, and the arm is just following. Right? Shoulder goes, arm follows. Bring the shoulder all the way up to the chin. Your right hand stays here, doesn't come back like this. Okay, it can start almost in front, but make sure when you get to that end position, your right hand's still high, still on that cheekbone. You're keeping your elbow in, and you're not pulling back like you're, what's that called? Bow and arrow. You're not bow and arrowing your jab, all right? You're not pulling your right hand back. You're keeping it nice and tucked here, and you're holding your shape. Remember what I said at the start as well. You're not trying to reach for it. You're keeping your weight back here where it should be at 6 on the scale of 1 to 10. Staying there. And I'm just using the extension of my arm and my shoulder to land the punch. Not this. This. We get our feet in to be able to throw and land the punch. We don't try and reach for it. Okay, so that's the jab. The cross is a pretty hard punch to throw, but think about what we talked about in the hip rotation, where I've rotated my body, my back knee's gone, my hip's gone, and then my torso goes here. Right, this bit is super important. So the bit of here to here is what really gives the cross its power. So starting my stance, rotating on my back foot. You notice my hand doesn't move the whole time. It stays here. Rotating my hips. So get to here, I'm pushing my lead shoulder back. And then as we get to this point, then my arm goes, okay? Goes here. Don't start throwing it here. Your hips and your body throw the punch. Your arm doesn't lead. Your body goes, then your arm goes. You don't start throwing the cross here, and then your hips follow. The arm comes last, okay? That's what gives it the snap. Now, when you throw the cross, you're keeping your weight back. A lot of people say that you can transfer your weight forward. That's sort of like a variation where you can drop your head off the center line. But for learning the cross, especially as a beginner, keep your weight on the back foot and don't lean forward. Keeping that weight here, all we're doing, rotating the body, and then just like the jab, I'm bringing my shoulder all the way up to my chin. From here, you create a power line. From the knuckles, you can see, go all the way down to my back foot, and that's what gives it that resistance. Okay, it's like jabbing a pole in someone's face, right? It's got a lot of resistance in the pole. When you got full extension and you got your body offering resistance behind it. Once you got that resistance behind your punch, and you just kink over your wrist like this, and drop the knuckles on the target, that's gonna amplify the power massively. Because you imagine all that force you produce with your body and the resistance behind it from bringing that shoulder up is all concentrated into your knuckles. That's going to increase the pressure, and therefore you're going to be able to knock people out a lot easier. Okay, so turning the knuckles over, kinking your wrist at the end gives you even more power. Once you've landed the punch, it comes straight back the way it came, all the way to your cheekbone here. All right, so go from here, arm comes out at the end, and then it just comes straight back. Looks like this. What are we on now? Lead hook. All right. So the lead hook is quite a hard punch to throw as well. A lot of beginners have a tough time figuring out how to throw this punch. But the way I want you to learn it is start by just having your arms down by your side and then rotating your hips slightly. So rotate your hips to here and then just swing your arm like this. All right, remember your body goes first, same with the cross. Body goes first, then my arm comes round. Because when I do that, my arm's coming around faster because it's trying to catch up with my body, okay? So I'm rotating my body. I'm just going to swing my arm over like that. And now, let's bring it from here and just get the portion that matters. The portion that matters in the lead hook is that much range in front of you. That's where your target's going to be, okay? So this little bit here is where it's got to be not only traveling the fastest, but where your arm goes to throw it. Okay, so to make it fast, again, our shoulder and our body goes first, and then the arm comes round. Okay, so this little portion here is where we want our arm moving the quickest. And from here, we can just bring our arm out, use that shoulder to come first. It's called like a shoulder pop. And then our arm comes around a little bit after and it's faster that way. Okay. So rotate our body, bring the arm into position, shoulder comes first, and then the arm comes around. Okay. So rotate the body a little bit, bring the arm up, shoulder, then arm. Now you can do this at any range. So I could go close range, where I'm going to have my palm facing me. I can have my palm facing me at pretty much any range, except long range. They're going to have to be more, it's going to have to be coming more forward like this. Okay, but generally, you turn the knuckles over a little bit more with the longer range punches. So how I like to throw the lead hook, especially at long range, is my palm's sort of facing towards my back foot like this. That's kind of the perfect angle of someone's chin. Just convenient. So we come from here, rotate the body, bring the arm out, bring the elbow nice and high, same height as the shoulder, same height as the knuckles, and then it just comes across like that. And once we've thrown it, comes straight back to our chin. All right, so practice this. A short range first, nice and close, elbow still comes high, same height as the knuckles, and we're rotating the body. Bear in mind, we're not rotating the body too far this way. When you do that, you bring your heel off the ground and you lose balance a little bit more. That's a little bit more advanced. Okay, that's more of like a check hook where I'm pulling my head back. For now, we're just going to focus on keeping that front foot planted, heel on the ground, using the rotation of your body just to throw the shot. Okay, so go close range, mid range, and then long range. Like that. Remember, the relaxation of your arm that you got from swinging it is now put into a smaller range of motion and then comes from the guard. You see, everything comes from my body. My back foot rotating from here, my knee, my hip, then my upper body, and then my arm comes round. It's important that you don't throw the arm first and then your body comes, all right? Body goes first, then you get that shoulder snap, that whip in your punch, okay? So think body first with everything. And if you're struggling with that, swing your arms around like this until you get used to everything coming off the body. Next punch. Next punch is the right hook. So pretty much exactly the same as a lead hook. Going to keep our weight back. Same motion of the body as the cross, except I'm just going to bring my arm up to here where my elbow is nice and high, same height as my knuckles. I'm just going to rotate my body like this. Same thing applies with the shoulder. Shoulder's got to be relaxed. So if you're struggling with that, again, swing your arms around. Bring the arm up. Nice relaxed shoulder. Rotate your body into the target like this. My lead foot shouldn't be moving too much around here. My lead knee should be nice and solid. Should be nice and planted. Bring the arm up, rotate your body. Bring it back to the cheekbone, okay? Then once you've got this motion, bringing it up, rotating the body, then let that arm lag behind a little bit and get a bit more whip in it. You can bring it longer, or you can bring it short. Short, mid-range, long range. Now we've got the lead uppercut. This one is probably the trickiest punch to throw. Exact same principle as the lead hook, except our arm travels in a different direction. So the body does the same thing, still rotate to here. All we're going to do is just drop the arm. So it's like bouncing off the air almost, like that. So as I rotate my body, I'm bouncing my arm off the air like this. From there, again, my shoulder comes first. Well, my body goes first, then my shoulder comes, then my arm follows behind it. Now it's super important to get that relaxed whip with the uppercut. If you're really struggling, take your head ever so slightly off the center line, keeping that right hand up where your head is like just behind your front knee, and then whip it, pulling it backwards. You want to try and imagine that you're pulling the arm, or you're pulling away from your arm. If you think if someone's throwing a hammer throw, they're pulling back on the hammer, and doing that means that hammer's got to travel around faster. It's still got to go a long way, but it's got to go faster around that way. It's exactly the same with your knuckles. If you're pulling away, you're pulling it back, and it's going to have to, as a consequence, travel much quicker. Okay, so far, we've dropped to here, bouncing it off, shoulder comes like that, just giving it a bit of elasticity, and then it just comes up vertically. So bringing it here, my palm's facing me, and my knuckles are traveling straight up. You don't want to go off to the side. It's more of a shovel hook. You want to come straight up like that. Remember, maintain your shape as you do this. So I'm here. Next punch is the rear uppercut. This one's a little bit easier. Exact same motion with the body as the rear hook and the rear and the cross. Except all I'm going to do is, again, direct it in a different way. So it starts at the back foot again, rotating my back foot, rotating my knee, rotating my hip. As I do this, I'm just going to drop my hand ever so slightly. And you can, if you're bringing it longer, drop your hand a little bit further, bring it longer. But if you're going like short range, you drop your hand as little as possible. And if you're really like inside fighting up close, you basically don't drop your hand, and you just do it all off the body like this. Okay, but we're gonna talk about the mid range. So I'm dropping my hand to here, rotating my body, keeping my lead hand up, and then same principle applies. Arm comes after the body, so body goes first, then your arm comes up like that. And again, we're bringing it up vertically. We need to imagine you're throwing a tennis ball up in the air, vertical, like that. So if you're throwing it up vertically, that's where the force is meant to be traveling. It's not meant to be going forward. It's not meant to be going off to the side. It's meant to be coming up vertically like that. If you're struggling with the motion, you can take your head just slightly off the center line like this, like you're sort of slipping to your right, and then get that rotation up there. Okay. But for now, just practice keeping your body nice and vertical, rotating like you're on an axis. Like there's an axis running through the center of your body, and you're just rotating about it and just bringing the shot up vertically like that. Right, lead hook body. This one is pretty tricky as well. I think I've said that for all of them, but lead hook body, again, same motion as any of those lead hand punches, except I'm just putting my arm in a different position, right, to throw it. So when I throw a lead hook, I'm just bringing it to here and rotating it. But instead of that, I'm going to bring my arm down, and it's almost like, well, it's not almost like, my palm is facing upwards, and I'm like bowling it upwards into what would be the liver. So a little bit off the center line with your head, a little bit of rotation, drop the hand as you do that. So you drop your hand to here, and then again, as I'm rotating back this way, starting the ball of my foot, my knee, my hip, my arm's lagging behind, and then my shoulder comes, and that gives the whip, the lead hook to the body. Okay. My front foot is planted. Don't ever throw a lead hook to the body and do this. No one does that. All the stability and balance is in this front leg for that lead hook to the body. Okay. So it's got to stay nice and solid. The more you dip this knee in, the less solid it will be, the more you come onto the side of your foot. So keep that foot nice and solid. Knee still. Drop in here. Drop the arm. Shoulder comes. Then your arm follows, okay? You're coming up into the target. Don't bring it too high. A lot of people I see, beginners that I've been teaching, they sort of bring it up vertically like that. Remember, it's going forward. The target's like here, it's someone's body. So you're going forward into the punch. You're not bringing it upwards. You're bringing it upwards slightly, but it's coming forwards. So it's like that. Okay. You can see that my shoulder, it's like popping forwards like that. That's where you accelerate it. This movement here of your shoulder and your body and that pop of the shoulder, that's what speeds up your hand enough for it to do damage. And it doesn't take any effort. It's just like nice and relaxed. Okay. If you're struggling with it, again, add a little dip, take your head a little bit further off the center line. Try slipping before it. A little dip means bending that front knee and then just coming back this way. Rip into the body. Okay. That's the lead hook to the body, the rear hook to the body. Same principle. Drop the arm, twist your body like this. It's 2 motions. Starting my guard, keeping my weight back, drop the arm to here. It's like a 90-degree angle of my arm. And then I'm just rotating my body like this till it meets the target. All right. Drop, rotate, drop, rotate, drop, rotate. And then you just blend them 2 movements together so it's fluid. So then you drop and rotate it at the same time. And then that same thing applies. Body goes first. Then your arm comes accelerating a bit more. Again, you can try adding a little dip before it, slipping before it. If that makes it any easier for you, make sure the body comes first and it's just a drop and a twist. Jab to the body, pretty much exactly the same as a jab to the head, except obviously it's to the body. Now, you just take your head off the center line slightly, bend your knee. You can take your front foot in as you do this, but you're just extending your arm forwards like that. Shoulder coming up, extend your elbow, looking down to the body. Or you can use an eye feint, look at the head, throw to the body like this. Time the landing of your punch with the landing of your front foot like this. Taking your head just off the center line. Cross to the body, similar thing. Take your front foot as well, and you're stepping slightly out at a diagonal angle. As you do that, drop your head off the center line and extend your arm. Same thing applies. Body goes first, then you snap the arm out, okay? Boom, boom. Like so. Then as you come back up, bring your hand back to your chin. Bring that foot back as well. So we set up our stance, we know how to move around the ring, we know how to throw punches, we know how to rotate our hips. Now we've got to learn how to defend. There's 3 types of defense, which you're going to go over, and that's foot defenses, hand defenses, and trunk defenses, i.e. head movement. Let's start off with foot defenses. The most basic foot defense is simply stepping out of range like this. Now, we talked about how you can do that one of 2 ways. You can either take your back foot first and then your front foot, or you can do a little nick, skip, side step type thing where I bring my front foot in, take my back foot out. That's brought me out of range. Now he can't hit me. Another thing we need to add on to this though is if they step forward with another attack or a longer combination, then I'm going to either need to step further back or I'm going to need to take an angle. Because if I keep stepping back, I'll end up on the ropes and I've got nowhere else to go. So a good foot defense, which you can practice now, is just 2 steps back, whether we sidestep or do normal steps and then just take a pivot, okay? You can pivot this way or you can pivot the other way. All right. From here, I've taken an angle. I've got myself out of range, taken an angle, and now much harder to be hit. Once I've taken that angle, then I can throw my attack because they'll likely have followed me. I've pivoted and now I'm facing them and they're facing that way. Okay. Another simple defense we can do with our feet is just doing half steps. Half steps are where we just take 1 foot. So instead of taking both feet like this, I'm just going to take 1 foot. I could just take my back foot. Now you see my head has dropped back slightly. I've gone from here. I'm further out of range. The beautiful thing about this is I can push off my back foot and then throw more shots. so I can counter attack, get myself out of range, and then come back in with more punches. Can also do this going the other way, so I could take my front foot only, land a punch, and then come back out of range. Okay, so I can use these little half steps to get out of range or into range. I can also use it to go side to side. So I could step here and then I could throw off a punch. Sorry, I could throw a punch off at an angle, or I could step here as I throw a shot. We can also do a little bit more advanced, but we'll go into these. The half steps. Good question, Jordan. All right, so to do the half steps effectively, all I'm doing is just take it. It's not much to it really, but I'm pushing off with my front foot, and as I do that, lifting up my back foot. All right, and then as I get to here, my weight is still 60-40, but I can push off the ball of my back foot to get back in. Okay, so it's that weight transfer. Just comes back slightly, and then I'm pushing off here. A little bit of suspension in my back leg, in my grasshopper, and I'm coming back. Same, going forwards and backwards, can push off, using the ball of my foot to do that. Okay. Now you want your feet to remain articulate. What I mean by that is nice, stable, on balance, small little steps, little adjustments. All right, so don't step really far out of range, because then you're more likely to lose balance and you just come off to the sides of your feet. Just little steps like that. Those are what's the most effective, because you want to make people miss by a small margin so that you're still in range to throw your punches. Right, if you take big steps or you bound out of range like this, then you lose all that ground and you can't throw your shots. Same goes for coming forwards, which I was going to touch on as well. So you can also defend by stepping forwards. So you might step into a punch, but if you want to work on the inside, if you've got someone that's taller than you, it might be better for you to be on the inside. You'd be safer there because they can't get their shots tight enough. So nice high guard. I can step, dip, get into range. I can throw my punches in here. However, make sure that you don't just storm in. Okay, if you just come in super fast, you're going to be off balance. You can get caught with a shot which will like 10x its power because you'll be coming in quickly. You want to edge in when you go into range. So you can come behind the jab like this, or as I said, you can use head movement, sort of creep closer till you're in that safe spot. You can also step pivot. So I can take a wider angle. If I'm just going back like this and then I just pivot, I might actually still be in range to get caught from this side or this side. So what I can do is add a little half step before it, taking my front foot further out of range and then pushing off my back foot, coming round, and now I'm much further over here, meaning that I'm off at a better, bigger angle. Same goes for going this way, step my foot and then push off, come around, take a wider angle. Okay, like, put you in a safer position. Hand defenses. Right, hand defenses. So let's just start with the basics. First of all, with hand defenses, you want to imagine that you mirror the side of which a punch is coming from with the hand that you're going to defend with. So if I'm fighting someone, well, it doesn't matter what stance they are, but if they throw a punch from this side, i.e. if they're orthodox, it would be a jab, then I'm going to use my rear hand to catch it. So it's not lead hand to lead hand, it's lead hand to rear or lead hand to rear. So if they throw a jab, I'm going to catch it with my backhand. All right. If they throw a cross, I'm going to parry it with my lead hand. Reason being is because they're just on the same lanes. So you've got a center line and you've got two lanes either side. This hand takes care of this lane. This hand takes care of this lane. So any punches coming down here, it's with this hand. Anyone coming down here is with this hand. What happens if I mix up these lanes and I try to defend a jab with this hand? I'm leaving myself wide open for their right hand coming this side. Okay, so we want to try to keep our hands defending the right sides. So we've got a catch and we've got a parry. A catch is where I'm just bringing my hand in front of my face and offering a tiny bit of resistance. The reason why we catch a jab is because it doesn't have a great deal of force because it's not coming off the body. So we can just stop the jab pretty easily by just turning our hand and putting a little bit of resistance behind it. Doing that is just going to offset it, take the power out of it. I mean, it's not going to land on your chin. So just putting it in front of your hand, in front of your face like that. Just catching it like so. Then you've got the parry. The parry, I could parry a jab, or more than likely I'm going to parry across. It's going to carry a lot more force with it. So I want to take it off its path. I'm not really going to be able to stop across. It can easily go straight through a catch. So I want to take it off course, and I time that. As that cross comes in, I'm pushing it off with my hand like this. Now, I used to say like, oh yeah, you use the rotation of your body, but a lot of the times you're just tapping it like this with just your arm and just taking it off course. If it goes over here and you push it down, imagine they've thrown a cross and you've taken it off course like that, they're going to be quite vulnerable. They're going to be off balance. They're going to be overreaching, and that's where you can counter them. So yeah, so you can parry their cross, take it off course, and it leaves a gap open so you can land your horse. Fuck's sake, right. So that's the catch and the parry. You can also do a full block, and that's where you take your guard and you just bring it up here like you're looking through some binoculars like that, using the first finger, the side of your first finger, to trace your eyebrows, and it should create a little window through your gloves like that. You can see there those straight shots coming down the middle, and you can just bring them in slightly to catch the blow, and that will stop punches getting through. It's a very solid guard, and it's much harder to penetrate going forwards. But if you can go around the sides, you've got to be careful of that. You can help block the sides a little bit by using the thumb of your glove on the side of your temple. So now you're blocking your temple, and you're also blocking from the front, but you can still get round by your chin and round by the back of your ear. So be careful using this guard. This is only for straight shots. You can block either side of your head. So from my guard here, I can bring up each hand just to cover my temple like this. So if I see a hook to the head's coming, I'm just going to bring it up like that. As I do this, take my chin slightly away. So I rotate my head away from it like that. That just means not only does it soften the blow, but it means if it does somehow get through, I'm not going to get chinned. Same going this side, just taking my head slightly off it. As you do this, you can also, a little bit more experience if you're a beginner, but you can rotate into them slightly, and that can set up other punches. It's called a catch and counter. So I can rotate here, catch a shot, and then I counter with the same hand. That's a general rule of thumb for that. But that's how you block either side, block the middle, catch and parry. And we just got to defend our body. So defending straight shots to the body, all we're doing is just bringing the elbows in like this and catching it. As they throw, we're just timing it and catching it forward like this. And then, obviously, those shots coming around the sides, we're just bending our body ever so slightly so that elbows come into the sides of the body like that. And we're just catching the punches like this, okay? So a little bit of bending the body just to take the blow out of those punches. Try not to bring your arm down, because someone could feint down and then come high. Okay, so try and keep your fingers on your temples like this, and then just use the body to shorten that distance between your head and your hip so that you can cover with your forearm. The next form of defense is moving your head, i.e. trunk defenses. And the reason why they're called trunk defenses is because you're not just moving your head like this. Right? If you do that, you're going to get knocked out. You need to use your body to move your head. And again, that comes off that hip rotation we talked about earlier in the video. So my hips go from here to here, and my upper body moves with it. Right? We can use this motion to just take our head slightly off the center line. So the center line, we'll start with slips. Center line's here. Here's the width of my head, obviously. And as I slip, as I rotate to this side, I want to take myself a head width off that center line, okay? That's just enough to let a punch go by. A good point of reference for this is take your rear hand, touch your lead knee. That's about how far your head should come off the center line, and do that with a straight arm. Same with the other arm and the other knee, okay? Just take, this is slipping, but you're just going to do that same motion with your hands up, okay? So that's how you slip. There's not much to it other than that. You can also slip a little bit further each way. So I could slip here and I could just come a little bit lower. I could slip and go under, Same going that way, but let's just stick with slips for now. So practice them knee touches. Once you got this motion going, maintaining that stability, then just get your hands up like this, elbows in still. We've also got a dip. A dip, all we're doing is just bending our knees. We're not doing anything else. Body stays in the exact same position, not rotating it at all. I'm just getting in my stance. I'm just bending my knees till I go a punch, height, downwards. Okay, so I'm just going there and then straight back up. All right, just a bend of the knees. Maintaining my stance, shape, weight distribution as I do this. The next one is a roll. There's a few variations of this, but I'll just go over the main one, which is using that rotation of your body again. So I want you to imagine that you got a pen stuck out the end of your nose and you've got an imaginary whiteboard in front of you and you're just drawing a circle with that pen. So start here. As I'm going, starting the circle, I'm basically going to slip. So you can use that as a point of reference. There's the start of the circle. From here, I'm going to draw the bottom of the circle by rotating my hips. As I get to the bottom, I should be in my normal stance. Then as I'm coming up, I'm in this rotated position now. I've drawn up to here on the circle, and then it's just coming back from this slip position to my stance. Okay, so I can do this going both ways. I can draw the circle that way, or I can draw the circle that way. All right. Now, what I don't want you to do is bend your body over like this to get under the punches. Use your knees to get down. My torso is staying straight up. Obviously, I've got that rounding in my back. My torso is staying straight up like this. We want to keep that shape and just use the bend in our knees to get under the shots. Pull. We can also pull. I'm not talking about going down a pub and pulling loads of bitches. I'm talking about the boxing defense. All you're doing with the pull is bringing your body back like this, just your torso, to the point where it's the same angle as your front thigh. All right, so I'm up right here, then I'm just going back here like this. That just takes me out of the range of a shot. Keeping my stance the same. Don't alter your stance at all. Keep the weight distribution the same. Just lean back like this. Lean back. Lean back. Lean back. All right, that's how you defend with your trunk. We've learned stance, weight distribution, punches, offense, defense, all of that good stuff. Now we need to put it all together. And this is a skill in its own. So we talked about earlier the hip rotation and how everything comes off that. Now we need to integrate that footwork with our defense and offense through the rotation of our hips. So obviously the footwork's separate. We move our feet, although we could also rotate and move our feet, but we'll stay away from that now. Let's just talk about the rotation of our hips. I'm just fucking yapping. I'll just get to the point, shall I? Yeah, just leave that in. Rotating your hips left to right. So this movement here. From this, we got our slips. We got our rolls. We got our punches. Everything flows off one another. All right. So now what I want you to do, get up and do this drill with me. It's called the multiple phase attacks drill. And it's pretty hard to get at first, but once you go through it enough times, it'll become second nature. And this is what we want. We want it to become second nature so that when we're in the ring, we naturally just do these movements. So I'm going to start off with just a 1-2. So a jab, cross, and from here I can slip to my right. Then I can throw a cross and a lead hook. See how all I'm doing is just rotating left to right, left to right, left to right. Then from here I can slip this way, and I can throw a lead hook and a rear hook, and I can slip this way, and then I can throw a rear hook and a 5, slip, 5, 6, slip, 6, 7, slip, 7, 8. And we're just going to keep running through that drill. So we'll start with it slowly. 1, 2, slip, 2, 3, slip, 3, 4, slip, 4, 5, slip, 5, 6, slip, 6, 7, slip, 7, 8. And we're just going to keep building on this until we get nice and fluid. Boom, boom. Okay, remembering shoulder pops, nice relaxed body, keeping that weight back. And we'll speed up again. Just keep going through that drill. We can also do this with rolls or any type of head movement. So again, we can go there, roll, no. You go there, roll, there, roll, there, roll. Nope. You get the picture. You can do it with rolls. So just practice going through those drills, integrating that flow of offense and defense. And then we want to use this in our shadow boxing. So we're not going to do crazy combos like that, but we can do segments of them. For example, I might throw a 1-2, slip, and throw a cross. Or I might throw an uppercut, lead hook body, slip, and then lead hook body. Using little snippets from that combination, we can put together multiple phase attacks. And that means where we attack, defend, and attack again. And in between those, we can move around the ring using our pivots, using our side steps, using those foot defenses, whilst flicking out the jab. Right now, in between those combinations, we got to set them up using the jab. So move around the ring or around your lounge if you're at home, just flicking out that jab, practicing those little foot defenses we were talking about, head movement, and then putting some combos together using that flow of boxer, okay? And that is how you integrate offense, defense, footwork. And now you're a fairly competent boxer, I would like to hope. I've got an online coaching program, the first of its kind, taking beginners to competent boxers through a boxing roadmap that condenses lessons and drills into easy follow-along workouts with constant feedback from me and my team of coaches. We also have calls on a regular basis where I just analyze how good you are at boxing and produce some pretty good results. If you need any further help, come find me in Hybrid Warrior Elite. Links in the description, or go to hybridwarriorelite.com and get personalized feedback from yours truly.